KYCA, 1490 AM and 103.6 FM. Is that right? And we're happy you tuned in. We know you have a lot of choices to how to spend your time, and we're really pleased that you tuned into our show today. On a quick reminder, it's not going to happen until next year, 2025, but, and I mentioned this before, out at Embry-Riddle at the Davis Learning Center, there's going to be a Dr. Richard Holdaway. He's been out there before. Yeah, they've got a thing out there at the College of Engineering called Distinguished Guest Speakers Series, and Dr. Holdaway is going to be out there talking about the universe, space, all kinds of things, and the programs begin on January the 14th, and I'll probably ask Richard to come in, Dr. Holdaway to come in February to the Bob Show and talk about some of the programs. They run from January 14th through the middle of April, and talks about all kinds of things to include climate change and his thoughts on climate change, which is always an interesting topic, and looking forward to having him come back. He lives in England. He spends part-time in England, and he spends part-time in Prescott, Arizona, and he used to work for kind of the equivalent of what we would call NASA here in the United States, and interesting guy, and it's a 1-hour talk. It's not a lecture, it's a talk, and he always leaves time at the end for questions that somebody might come up with. So it's just a fun evening, and it's from 7 to 8, and it will begin on January the 14th, and it'll go weekly through about the middle of April. So looking forward to that, and looking forward to seeing him again. We haven't, he's been gone since I don't know, been a while. He's got to comply with the you can only stay so many months and then you have to go home thing, which I guess applies to guys like Dr. Holdaway and his lovely wife Ruth. Anyway, today on the Bob Show we've got Jim Lamerson here, a four consecutive term person that was on Prescott City Council. Jim Lamerson, it's good to have you, sir.
Thank you. It's nice to see you again.
Yeah. We were talking the other day on the phone, and I thought it'd be fun to come in and talk about things that have happened in the past and things we might think of that be coming up into the future. And Jim's brought a couple of pictures to show us. And I was just, before we started, just wanted to mention that I was listening to Karen Fan the other day, and she was talking about all the new people moving into town and how we welcome them to come, and it's a good thing and all. And just try to remember that some of us have been here for a very long time, and if we take into consideration some of the history of the place when we're trying to move forward, it would be a good thing. And I thought that was kind of a profound thing to bring up.
Yeah, well, I think it's important that people understand some of us have been here a long time. As you know, Bob, I've been here for 45 years, and I've been in downtown. I've had my own business in downtown for 33 years. So there's nothing new, so to speak, for me in regards to experiencing what Prescott is and what Prescott has been. What is new is that there's a whole bunch of new people moving here that seem to want to change what we have.
Right, and that's exactly what I was saying, that when Karen mentioned that, if we can kind of try to envelope or fold into or consider some of the things in the past that have made Prescott a distinguished place to be, that's kind of important.
Well, we have some very, very important signature events. One of them has to do with Christmas City. One of them has to do with the rodeo. One of them has to do with the Veterans Parade, Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Prescott's very, very important about history and who we are.
That's right. And you brought up something that I hadn't thought about, but it's absolutely true, is that we have a high percentage of veterans that live in the Prescott area.
Well, yeah, we have the Veterans Hospital here, too.
Well, that's
and
very true.
One of the things that you also have a whole lot of retired police and fire. A lot of first responders coagulate in the city of Prescott for reasons, and that's because of who we are. And they like who we are, and I don't necessarily think that the people who have been here for a long time, want to do too much to alter who we are.
And I think that's true. And I just, like I'm saying, I think that as we move forward, we can do that. I don't think that as you add people, There are lots of variables that start to happen too, but we still need to remember who we were before we move
Well,
forward.
absolutely. I mean, Prescott developed around ranching. Prescott developed
Mining,
around the lumber industry,
right,
around mining.
right.
But that doesn't mean that just simply because we do. Imagine what Prescott would be like if we cut down all the trees. That wouldn't be very nice. People wouldn't want to come here because the environment's now different. Nobody ever said change the environment any more than they said to change things like being Arizona's Christmas city.
That's right. That's right. By the way, I forgot to mention area code 928-541-1016. If you want to call in and make a comment about what we're talking about, please do. We're anxious to hear what you're thinking about. And it's 541-1016. And you can ask Mr. Lamberson any question you like. I'm sure he'd be happy to answer. But let's move on about this Christmas City thing. Something happened. We looked it up. We talked earlier today, and we looked it up. I looked it up. That Arizona was named Arizona's Christmas City by Governor Rose
Mofford,
Mofford
thank you.
in 1989. And we think of these things as being traditional and long time ago. That's not really all that long ago, 1989. But we were then named Arizona's Christmas City, and you've got a picture here, and I don't know if it'll come it'll show up on this thing, or it will. Okay, so let's hold this up if we can do that.
This is Dee Riggs, a longtime resident at that time of Prescott, and she was pronounced Arizona's Christmas City Queen, and I was presenting her with a bouquet of flowers and the crown and what have you. She was just absolutely floored that people would think enough of her.
There we go. There we go.
I'm trying to remember. I think at the time she was either 93 or 95.
I think it says 93 on
yeah,
there.
Yeah. And she was just a sweet old lady, and she was down in my store. And at that time in 1989, that's about the time I had my daughter, and she was born. So it was a very important time frame in history for me. So anyway, there you go.
Yeah, and that kind of thing. Every once in a while, something will happen. It'll remind me of the fact that we're still kind of a close-knit community in some respects. Those kinds of things used to happen all the time. I can remember being put in charge of the Christmas lighting on the courthouse square one year, and I was having a discussion with somebody who worked at the county and whose name I can't remember. You may remember. I cannot remember the guys. And we were having an argument, and I was saying that was my position, that the beauty of the ceremony was that the kids would come and sing some Christmas carols. That at that point the governor would come out and read the Christmas story right out of the Bible, and the lights would come on, and the show was over. That was it. It would take about 15, 20 minutes, and I was insistent that we did not try to expand it at that time. And I was having this huge argument with this guy, and I was mad. I went home and I was thinking, why in the world, And the next morning I saw him, and he says, hey, come on over, let's have some breakfast. He says, I can smell the bacon in there, and that's the way it used to be. We would fight, we'd have these discussions about this, that, and then the next day we would move on, kind of as a community. And
I don't remember who you're talking about, Bob, but I really think that it's important that we not only remember what's going on this coming up weekend with the Christmas parade. And, I feel pretty close to the parade is for a couple of reasons. One of them is because I'm pretty religious and I believe in Christmas, but also it's Pearl Harbor Day. And December 7th this year is Pearl Harbor Day. And if it wasn't for a lot of military personnel that sacrificed their life and their time and took the risk on our behalf, we wouldn't be able to do any of the stuff we enjoy in this country. So I like to bring that up every chance I get, that we owe who we are to and what we do to the people that risk everything for us, including our military and our police and our fire.
Yep, absolutely true. And I can remember one time talking about Normandy and couldn't get through talking about it because how emotional it gets walking around with all those in that graveyard in Normandy, France. It's just it's powerful.
Yeah, as you know, my dad served in 4 wars, and he lied about his age like a lot of the kids out of the Depression did, so that he could get the 3 squares. And then my father-in-law was at both Iwo Jima and the Chosin Reservoir, and my my dad served over in various different places, but he was in WW2, then Korea, then Vietnam, and then he did some stuff with covert down in Nicaragua and El Salvador when some stuff was going on down there. But anyway, yeah, we're from a very strong military background. Fortunately, both my brothers made it out unscathed physically, but they both retired from the military and still work for DOD. And I'm very proud of both my brothers. One retired actually while he joined the Nuki subs, and he actually got out of the military, out of the Army as a major in the Army, and then my other brother, he got out of the Navy, and he was a lieutenant. He's what they called hold on a minute, a Mustang, and he went up through the ranks and did what he needed to do. So, I'm very, very concerned with what's going on in the country today with regards to certain things, and I'm very glad that Donald Trump won the election.
Yeah, yeah. I had an uncle who was at Normandy on that day, June 6th, 1944, and it's important to remember.
Yeah, it is. It's very
important to
important.
remember. Yeah, another thing that evolved over the time was the Christmas parade. And I looked that up too. The Christmas parade is 42 years old, and we've been here 44 years. Just that we came you came a little before we did to the Prescott area. I wouldn't leave. I love living. Almost 45 years now. It's going on 45. And the Christmas parade was a Chamber of Commerce thought through Mary Baker.
Mary Baker.
And back at the Chamber of Commerce, and I had the privilege of being serving on the board for many years over at the chamber, and was president, or what they call him, chairman or president at the time, in 1982. And you were also on
couple of
subsequent
times.
to that. Yeah, they've got pictures of us up there in the chamber upstairs at the chamber, and I always tell everybody I'm the guy whose picture is behind the coffee machine. So anyway.
Yeah, I always kind of felt kind of little when I'd go up there and see my picture up on the wall. But,
yeah, I know. Yeah.
Because we change in life, and did I really look like that?
Yeah, really. All right. Well, I got the break sign, so let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Remember, you can give us a call if you'd like. Area code 928-541-1016. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Bob Show here. I'm Bob Recker, your host, and we're talking to Jim Lamerson. And both of us have served on Prescott City Council in years past. Jim was a 4-year continuous consecutive year council person. And I was going to ask you to look back a little bit and tell us what you think might be one of the more important things that you had to deal with during those 16 years that you were on council.
Sure, Bob. Well, the most defining time that I could remember, I like to call it the Day of Infamy.
Yeah.
During World War II, of course, the Day of Infamy is when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor on December 7th. Mine was June 30th, 2013, when we lost our hot shots down in Yarnell. And it was a very, very emotional time frame for me. I was the mayor pro tem at the time, and I had to take care of a lot of different issues on behalf of the citizens of Prescott. And at that time frame in history, there was a difference of opinion between me and the mayor as to whether or not the hotshots were our employees or they were dispatched by the feds or dispatched by the state or whatever the case would be. And
Right.
at the end of the day, I always maintained they were always they were always the employees of the city of Prescott, even though they were reserves in this military branch or that military branch or, part of this particular organization or whatever. They worked for the city of Prescott. So that was a real defining moment
Right.
in my life was that particular day. So
Yeah. Yeah, the mayor was Mayor Kirkendall back at that time. I can remember walking in the house from wherever I was from, and my wife said that we had lost firemen in 19, and I told her that's not possible. I said no, something the news is wrong. It couldn't have happened that way. We've got things in place that prohibit or that should never happen, and it turned out I was totally wrong. And that's what I remember. I was immediately in denial about what had actually occurred, and one of the stages of grief, I guess, and it had a huge impact on our community. We'll never forget it. The people that were here will never forget it, and it's a good example too of what communities like Prescott go through as a community.
yeah, I would agree with you. I think that a lot of communities go through different things, different events happen. Ours just happened to be a wildland fire,
Yeah.
and it was a terrible time frame in history for me, and I'll never forget it. And I'm still friendly with a number of the families, um, and anyway,
Yeah.
it's Christmas time, and I'm
Yeah.
waiting for the parade, and I just happened to bring up the fact that the Day of Infamy on the,
Right.
the deal with the Japanese attack in Pearl Harbor and everything. Well, my Day of Infamy was
Yeah.
June 30th.
By the way, if you walk into the grocery side of Walmart, the pictures of the firemen are still up on the wall, and they've been up there since probably shortly after the event occurred. So it's
And
still fresh in people's minds.
There's a nice mural on the side of the Chamber of Commerce
Yeah.
wall too that is
There
very
is.
nice. That people should take the time to at least
Yeah.
see. I think that's really nice.
Yep.
So, but
The Chamber of Commerce building was the old sheriff's office back in the day,
yeah,
and some of the walls in there are kind of they're really thick, and I think they used to put guys back in there and kind of close that particular area off.
Yeah.
You ever notice that when you were over there? Yeah.
yeah.
You think, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a lot of different things. So, anyway,
Yeah.
needless to say, there's no better town for me than Prescott, Arizona.
Nope, I'm with you.
I love Prescott.
Yeah,
Arizona.
me too. There's something about just the way it feels. You have no. I'm sure people have come into your store and said to you, I just felt comfortable when I came down to the plaza. which we all call it square, but Betty Refner used to always say, it's the plaza, it's not the square. And walked around down there, and just
Y-
you just get a sense of
And
feeling.
I'm going to tell you, Bob, agreeing with Senator Fan, um, that's part of Prescott, and wanting to keep Prescott is keeping not only um, our character and our ambience about our town, um, not you know, I'm not trying to demean anybody. That's not my style. But I really don't want to be Phoenix, Arizona. I've never wanted to be Phoenix, Arizona. If I wanted to live in Phoenix, Arizona, I
That's
would have
where
lived
you'd
in
be.
Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
And in part of our character and ambience is our downtown, and part of our character and ambience is our special events, which includes Christmas.
Yep.
We're Arizona's Christmas city,
Yes, we are.
and we're the rodeo, the world's oldest rodeo, regardless of what Payson says. And I agreed with Mayor Steiger. A couple of sheep running around didn't qualify as a rodeo, and so much for Payson.
Well, Pecos, Texas wants to be known as the world's oldest rodeo also,
Yeah,
and they can't prove it.
yeah.
And,
Well,
and
but we
can.
can.
Yes, and we can. That's right.
So I mean, this is the revelry is really part of the characterization
Yeah.
of who
And-
we Westerners are.
And it's changed. The city's changed, because back in the day we were known as the softball capital of the world. Everybody played softball, including you and I, and then we've kind of evolved into the Whiskey Row Marathon and the bike races and everything, and the city's participating in those events now, and I think it's fantastic.
Well, me too. I remember our championship, and you're right. We were champions. We played softball. You bet. We were old men that played with a softball about the size of a beach ball, and we used a bat that was about the size of a hockey stick. Yeah, we had a great time of it, though.
Come on, we were. Yeah, back then I can remember, the people that ran the banks and all that kind of stuff would be out there, and we would be having bets whose name's going to get in the newspaper a couple of days from then. Did a good job playing that particular game and that particular evening, and what fun we used to have doing that.
Yeah, sometimes some of those guys took that stuff way too serious. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they
was
thought
never-
they were professional ball players, and here we are in BF Egypt, so to speak, playing softball in no man's league.
Yeah.
That's the first time I broke my ribs was playing softball.
We never had that problem to be that too serious about the whole thing anyway. So.
No, and then we used to all go down to Canarios and have a drink afterwards. I remember George coming down and telling us to dump all those beers out, and he lined up what he thought we should be drinking. Yeah.
All right,
Good old
those are
days.
funny. Well, when we come back after the heartbreak at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk a little bit about Lamerson Jewelry and some of the things you're doing over there. So stick with us. Give us a call if you'd like. We'll be right back after these minutes. And we're back here on the Bob Show. I'm Bob Recker, your host, and we're talking to Jim Lamerson and Lamerson Jewelry downtown Prescott. And give me a second. And I just wanted to mention before I forget, like I always do, and I know I sound like, get off my lawn old guy, but please be careful on Highway 69. The traffic is getting worse and worse, and there's lots of crazy things that don't need to be happening if you just take a little bit of time. I'm going to see you at the next light anyway, and drive a little like you've lived in Prescott for a while. How about that?
Yeah, well, that's a fair statement. The traffic isn't getting worse. We're getting dumber drivers.
Yeah, we're getting dumber drivers.
I mean, just tell it the way it is. People do stupid things out there. The speed limit is what it is, and the driving conditions are what they are. It doesn't mean you have to go out there and act the way some of these people act.
Don't start working one of these things, one of these cell phone things, because once you do that, you have no idea how distracted you are, and it doesn't take but a few seconds, and all of a sudden something bad's happening.
Yeah, you remember correctly, Bob. That's what happened to me. Is somebody ran a red light out on 89, T-boned us, my head goes through a window, and I get a fractured skull. He got a couple of months in the clink, and I in a two or 300 fine, and I got a lifetime sentence.
Yeah.
So the cause and effect consequences of doing stupid things on the highway cost people lives and cost people a lot of misery. And I would just try and, especially at Christmas time, guys, let's be smart. Let's not go out there and take advantage of circumstances and try and run this or run that or beat this or beat that. A few minutes don't make a difference. It really doesn't.
You're going to run into a red light, I'm telling you. This is the way they got them set up. When we moved to town, you could go from the junction out on Highway 17 and Highway 69 and come all the way into town and not have a red light of any kind all the way till you got into town. So, things do
Willow
change.
Creek was a dirt road.
Willow Creek was a dirt road. There used to be, we used to have 5 Points out there, and there was a gas station sitting right in the middle of where I guess part of the road is now. I mean, things like that change. Yellow Front Store was over there, and
the world crazy. The world changes. It really does.
It does. Yeah. Something that's been around for a long time though is Lamerson Jewelry, and you've been over on Cortez for what'd you say, 33 years now?
Yeah. I imagine that.
And
imagine that.
And I want you to explain to everybody what lapidary means.
It's gem cutting. It was actually stone cutting. I mean, you can be a lapidary and cut a headstone, but that's not what we do.
Okay.
We cut gemstones.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Lapidary is stone cutting. And my wife is a world-class gem cutter, and some of her stones have been featured in some very prestigious spots on the planet. Smithsonian's one of them. She was featured in Gems and Gemology and Lapidary Journal, and she cut for couple of very important mines, one-track mines, Ponderosa mines, Kilimanjaro mines, etc. And so, we're in a lot of gemstones. In fact, we probably have one of the largest loose-colored gemstone collections in the state of Arizona. And during the Christmas season, I always try and move some of these things so I can bring some new stuff in.
Yeah.
So we have what we call our annual Christmas sale. And that's what's going on in my store right now. We're having a 10 to 50% off type sale store-wide, and that's what we're doing in the store. And if people have visited my store, they'll understand that my store model is different than a lot of jewelry stores. I have a lot of estate jewelry. I have thousands of pieces of estate jewelry that from all over the world, and we have a lot of ethnic jewelry, and we have a lot of fine jewelry. We have a lot of Native American jewelry. We have a collection of ivory from the permafrost up in Alaska when they did the Alcan Highway, and a lot of it's etched with scrimshaw and stuff like that. We have a lot of neat stuff.
Yeah, it's completely unique stuff.
Right, right. We have a lot of neat. I can't just pick up the phone and call somebody and order more. It doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, and you got a staff. You have people working over there.
I have two ladies, very nice ladies that work for me, Sandy and Genevieve, and they're there most all the time, except when I'm not. And then when I'm not there, they take care of my store. But I'm there normally 4 to 5 days a week, unless it's hunting season. That's one of the things we don't want to change about Prescott. We want to keep hunting right on the front line of everything. And I still go hunting with my hunting partner, Steve Blair. And we've been hunting together for over, I think, close to 40 years, Blair and I.
Have you ever actually shot anything in all those years?
I'm very good at what I do. I'm very proficient. Let me put it that way. I don't want to get all the animal rights activists all
Yeah, no.
upset, but I'm very proficient at what I do. And one of the things that I've found out since, I've been dealing with the MS for quite a while now, but one of the things I found out is it's much better for people like me who have an autoimmune deficiency to eat non-steroid laden meat.
Oh, okay.
So I don't eat anything that's been processed that has the chemicals in it anymore. The only thing I eat for meat is venison, elk, rabbit.
Wow.
And that's
Well,
all I eat.
and that reminds me of one of the unique things about living in the city of Prescott. Where we live, we have deer in our yard. We have rabbits. We have javelina. I'm not sure we want them, but they wander in and they wander out. They pretty much leave everybody alone. And just recently, we've had bobcats, and all the neighbors have seen the bobcats except me. And I'm looking forward to seeing, but you got to be careful if you have a little dog, that you got to be with that animal at all times, because, like you were saying, those bobcats are pretty wily and quick.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Same thing with coyotes.
and
Yeah.
coyotes too.
Yeah,
We have coyotes
I mean,
all over the place.
I mean, that's part of the problem
mountain lion.
with people when they don't realize we live in the woods, and the lions, the coyotes, the bobcats, the various different animals. Those little dogs are a meal.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, they just do what they do. So you got to be real careful about what you do with your little critters, whether it's your little dog or your little cat, whatever the case would be.
Yep.
One of my employees has lost a cat or two to coyotes.
I wouldn't doubt that. I can remember a lady that worked at the city had her German Shepherd and probably antagonized some javelina, and the javelina didn't kill the dog, but
They damaged it.
weeks of bad damage to the dog. It took forever to get over it. So, they're out there, and wild animals are wild animals.
Yeah. That's a fair statement. We like having the wild animals.
Yeah,
But you got to
it's
remember,
fantastic.
we do have them.
That's right.
It's just like, what we were talking about with a little of this and a little of that. We like having the roads, but remember, don't do something stupid on the roads.
Yeah.
You gotta be smart.
Yep, absolutely. All right, time for another break. So stick with us, 541-1016 if you want to give us a call, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to the Bob Show. We're talking to Jim Lamerson today. My name is Bob Recker. And one of the things that happens to you if you've served on Prescott City Council, like Mr. Lamerson has done, is that you end up getting on different committees as time goes by, and even overlapping some of the time. And Jim's still on the Board of Adjustments, and the Board of Adjustments is a unique board because it's not direct subject to overturning by the city of Prescott City Council,
That's correct.
and there was a thing going on highway, well, on a hospital that's been built on Highway 69 regarding a helicopter, and it was kind of an interesting issue that has just gone on and has been voted on by the Board of Adjustments, and I want you to talk about it a little bit and what happened there.
Okay, I'll tell you what what I'm at liberty to speak about. The fact of the matter is, I'm chairman of the Board of Adjustments. The Board of Adjustments is quasi-judicial, and for the council to try and override the Board of Adjustments, they got to go through Superior Court to do so. Now, having said that, we had something come before the board in kind of an unusual mechanism, and I say that because there's a process that's involved, and there's certain things that need special use permits or conditional use permits, and one of them happens to do with a helicopter pad. Now, having said that, every process goes through a planning and zoning process, and in the planning and zoning process, you have design elements that you present to the Board of Adjustments, or you present it to the planning and zoning ahead of time. And the need for the helicopter pad was not there at the time.
Initially.
Yeah, it was not there initially at the time that the hospital got their building permits and all the stuff issued that they wanted issued. And then all of a sudden, they built the helicopter pad.
Yes, they did.
It never went before the Board of Adjustments for a conditional use permit to do it. Now, having said that, I do believe that you need to follow the process. I also believe that if the hospital is for necessary things for people to stay alive, the one thing that you take into consideration is this is a private hospital. It's not a public hospital. And it's a concierge type of deal. So it brought to my mind, of course, right away, is that where does the Arizona gift clause come in when we're given a special use permit to a private entity that doesn't have to follow a process? So I wanted them to follow the process, and that's why I voted no. It wasn't because I don't think that the helicopter pad's a good idea to save people's lives. It's because they didn't follow the process that's been put in place to make sure that the neighborhood and the community has an opportunity for public review and public comment ahead of time, and that didn't take place.
Yeah. Did it? I'm a little confused now. A little bit. Is this particular hospital, if we're going to call it a hospital? My understanding, there's 8 rooms in this building that they built. That if there was an accident on Highway 69, a crash on Highway 69, that you couldn't be taken to this hospital because it's a private hospital?
I don't know that the answer to that, Bob.
Okay.
I'm not going to pretend.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't either. And it's unfair to
I
ask
don't
you.
know.
I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody who's listening might know and give us a quick call and let us know. But
I think it's more like an urgent care center. That's what I ascertained in listening to the presentation. But the presentation wasn't as
thorough.
It's thorough because we never had any public input. We didn't have the discussions that I thought would have been necessary to have garnered my yes vote, but it didn't garner my yes vote because the process wasn't followed. Had we gone through the process from beginning to start, had from the time they went through and put in their building plans and all of that stuff, they would have indicated they needed to have a helicopter pad there. That would have triggered the Board of Adjustments in a hearing for it to see, but that didn't happen.
Well, Kirk's calling us, so why don't Kurt hang on? We'll take you right after our final break here, so we have enough time to see what you're thinking about. So let's go ahead and take the break, and we'll be right back. Hang on, Kurt. And we're back here on the Bob Show. I'm going to get right to it. Kurt, are you still on the line?
Yes, hello there.
Hey, been a long time no hear from you. How are you?
I'm great, thank you, and hi, Jim.
Hi, how are you doing, Kurt?
Good, thank you, and Merry Christmas, by the way.
Thank you. You too.
It's okay to say Christmas to me.
Yeah.
Yes, I know, that's why I said it. So I live in Diamond Valley, about a mile from that hospital site across the highway. So the day that they did the groundbreaking, they flew a helicopter into there on a makeshift pad that they went up and, with a backhoe, just enough for a helicopter. So everybody knows that a hospital has a helicopter now, and I'm surprised they didn't have that in the initial drawings submitted for a building permit. And I am so sick of how the building permit process runs in both city and the county, so don't get me going.
Well, that's interesting.
Well, I was a little dismayed that it wasn't in the original plans and stuff, too. And in order for them to get an approval, it should have gotten a conditional use permit. And they built that thing before it ever came before the Board of Adjustments. And it's kind of like closing the barn door after all the cows are out.
Easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
There you go. Hey, Kurt, how do you feel about it personally, being that close to it?
Well, I would expect to hear it. I'm not that close, but there's houses literally across the fence from it. So, yeah, it's bare dirt hillside. It will fly around for quite a while. When they were building it, there was dust flying everywhere. So, yeah, if they cover it with AstroTurf, maybe that'll help.
Yeah. Okay. But there's a water tank up there on the ridge up above it.
Correct.
There's some
for the
some,
fire suppression system.
Yeah, there's some houses up there, right there. There's some
Yep.
high tension lines or some lines there, electrical lines.
But see,
And-
Kurt, part of my no was because we never got the opportunity for public input. Like I like the concept of the AstroTurf. There may be something that can be done to mitigate some of this, but we never had the opportunity to hear any of that because there was never any opportunity for public input at a Board of Adjustment meeting.
Yeah, well, I could say some words, but I would be banned.
Yeah. There's 3 flagpoles that are there now that they put up. I can't wait to see what's going to happen on Highway 69 when they're fooling around trying to land a helicopter there, and what the traffic's going to do while all that's going on.
Well, is it as far as it is the hospital on 5 or 4 points?
Yeah. Yeah, but that particular thing is still further away from either one of those roads than this one is. This one's right there.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, I'll take a note of that. So
Okay.
anyway, I just had to call in. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate the call.
Nice to talk to you again, Kurt.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye. And here again, this is another good example of a small community where people call into a talk show like this, and a couple of local guys just chewing the fat a little bit and giving their opinion. I like it.
Yeah, me too. And but see, that's kind of what the Board of Adjustments and the Planning and Zoning and the various different boards and commissions that we have at the city are supposed to be. And that's one of the reasons why you don't want to obscure the public input. That's one of the reasons why you have the open
Right.
meetings.
Sure.
That's one of the reasons why you get concepts from other people that you may have never have thought of. Like I would have never thought about AstroTurf, and that might have been something that could have been in the conditional use permit that, yeah, you can do this, but you got to cover here with AstroTurf or something of that nature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I saw a bunch of decomposed granite piles over there, so I figured they might be putting a little of that on there, but that probably wouldn't be sufficient.
Yeah, I don't.
With a helicopter.
I'm not an expert on
I don't
any of
know
that.
either. I don't know either.
I'm a jeweler.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just thinking about some of the things like the city has done that people probably aren't aware that just moved here. Like, for example, the Elks Theater, that at one point the city purchased the Elks Theater to save it,
Yeah.
and subsequently have sold it because they're not in the business of putting on plays, and
But look at the conditions, et cetera, that it was sold under, and where it's got to stay in perpetuity. I mean,
Right.
it's not going to be an Arby's.
No, it's not.
It's not going to be a fast food restaurant, okay?
Exactly.
So you have to kind of try and put everything in the proper perspective.
Yeah, and the community center where lots of folks use it now. That that was thought through and that building is there because of the city and the city council approving that. Lots of little things like that have been going on for a long period of time that have created, what Prescott is today.
Yeah, and we want to kind of keep Prescott.
Yeah.
We don't want some big high rise right there where the Elks building is.
No, we don't.
And it's the same thing down here, and you get a lot of lip service about what's going down at the old city hall.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter still remains is it got sold and it's private property.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden the private property owner can come in and do different things.
I want to touch on a particular issue that you were famous for, besides having a Constitution in your pocket all the time while you were on city council, and that is basic services, and how that affects what Prescott is today. Over the years, and how important that's been.
Well, the thing I can comment on that, Bob, is I was always a big proponent of police and fire first. And that's the first thing you set money aside for in your budget. And that's one of the reasons why I oppose the 1 cent sales tax increase, is because the money should be set aside for police and fire to begin with, to start with. Mm-hmm. You shouldn't have to say, well, we went and spent our money on Parks and Rec, or we went and bought a trail, or we did this or we did that, now we don't have the money. What you should have done is you should have planned for police and fire right in the beginning.
Right. Well, but now, my understanding is that there's been an account set aside so that the public can keep track of this additional that we just voted for.
Well, yeah, but that's after all the
falter off because of what you just said.
Yeah.
That some of the citizens were concerned that the money would be,
and they were afraid that the thing wouldn't pass.
Yeah.
But the fact still remains that whether we need a $40 million fire station or $40 million police station, or we need, infrastructure, and we know we need it, that should be planned for right at the moment, right when you start to sit down and do your budget. You shouldn't have to sit down later in the process and say, we don't have the money.
Right. And, another thing I was thinking about is the call center, the 911 call center. That was all coordinated during our time on council where the 911 calls all came in, so there wasn't a dispatch in different locations of trying to coordinate these things in the case of an emergency.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Well, yeah, it is if you're the one that got splattered.
Yeah.
Having been there, I mean, I know what it was when they hauled my butt off in the ambulance there out on 89.
Yeah.
I know what it means.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we were at a intersection in Prescott Valley where there was a crash. And I told Wendy, I said, call 911. I'm going to go check see how the gal's doing it that was in the car by herself. And, the dispatch lady said, you're the first person that called. And, they, and within minutes, there were people there to assist in that particular crash. So,
Yeah, it's been very successful. I'm glad that, we can put a chalk mark up there
that's right.
for something that we did good. I mean, we hear about all the things that we did that they thought were ludicrous. Like, Bob, I don't know how many times I heard, but I never said I wanted to blow up the Dells. That isn't what I said.
We all love the Dells. It's a unique thing. All right, folks, we got about 25 seconds left. You got any quick last comments?
No, I want to tell the citizens of Prescott and the greater Prescott area, which includes Prescott Valley and Chino Valley and Yavapai County, etc. I hope you all have a very safe and happy Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah. And same here. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in. Time's out, and we'll see you next time on the Bob Show. Back in